Good afternoon and welcome to a special meeting of the Oak Harbor City Council. This is a workshop meeting, specially called today, November 30th. It is 2 p.m. I'd like to call the meeting to order at this time. This meeting will be both a physical meeting location and a virtual meeting. Some members of council and city staff are participating via teleconference. Today's meeting may be viewed live via YouTube, Facebook, and on cable channel 10, HD 1090. So I'd like to ask our city clerk, Julie, to call the roll at this time, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor Pro Tem Heisen,
Present.
Councilmember Wiesner,
Present.
Councilmember Stuckey,
Present.
Councilmember Evans,
Present.
Councilmember Hoffmeyer,
Here.
Councilmember Marshall.
Present.
Mayor, Councilmember Munns is not present.
Okay, well, she may come in, and if so, she can join us at that time. So I would like to take this opportunity to introduce our new Parks and Recreation Director, Brian Smith. Welcome him to his first day at the City of Oak Harbor. Today is Brian's first day, and I got to meet with him a little bit earlier. And I'd like to welcome Brian and many meetings to come from now. So. Brian's office is going to be out at Public Works in the,
It'll be in the annex on the left side. The engineering's will be on the right side there, so.
okay, great. We have on our agenda, we actually had on our agenda two items. And the first item was a continuation of public hearing ordinance number 1964, setting property tax levies for 2023. As noticed in our meeting packet, council elected to continue the public hearing for this ordinance to today in order to know the outcome of the November 8th election. If voters approve the fire services levy lid lift, it would negate the need for this ordinance since that levy amount is decided. I understand the canvassing board has certified that the voters have approved both the bond and the levy lid lift. So at this, thank you voters, thank you so much. So at this time, we will cancel the public hearing on ordinance number 1964, and the ordinance number will be reassigned. So we will go on to the second and last item on the list, action public hearing ordinance number 1965, adopting the final 2023-2024 biennial budget. First, I'll call on our finance director, Mr. David Goldman, to present that budget, and then we'll open a public hearing and ask for comments. So I'll turn it to Mr. David Goldman at this time. Mr. Goldman?
All right, thank you, Mayor, members of council, David Goldman, Finance Director. So this is the second public hearing and the adoption hearing for the 2023-2024 biennial budget. We had our preliminary public hearing on November 15th at the City Council meeting, and today is the final hearing, November 30th, for the biennial budget. The budget has multiple sections, which we went over in detail in the previous meetings we held. Mayor's message, then budget highlights, and then we go over our financial policies, the city's financial and fund structure, the budget process. We went over the decision packages and personnel requests that were included in the budget. We show a budget calendar, what it takes to get the budget done from start to finish. And then we went over the various financial tables looking at all funds, and we drilled into some details, into the details of some of the funds. And then every city department got up there and made a presentation as to their operations and their funding that's in the budget. So this is the biennial amounts for all the funds. This is the figures that are contained in the ordinance. The total for all funds for the biennial period is just under $251 million. The full-time equivalent positions, this is basically the number of employees we have as an equivalent. So part-timers might be counted as a fraction of one. So when you add two part-timers together, it might equal one FTE. But these are the calculations we have for every department, and the number of positions are broken down for each department in the backup for the budget. You can see that the total of the current year, we have 170 FTEs, and in the biennial budget, those figures are down slightly. So with that, we can open up the public hearing and open the floor for any questions. And when we're finished with the deliberations, we put a suggested motion up on the board, and it's also in your agenda packet.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Goldman. So before we do turn to council for questions or input, I'll open the public hearing and turn to our clerk and ask if there have been any comments received from the public.
No, Mayor, we've received no comments from the public on the budget item.
Okay, so I'll turn to our audience here and ask if there are any comments. And if so, please step forward. Please state your name.
Good afternoon, Mayor Severns, members of the City Council. Thanks for allowing us to speak today. I would like to talk specifically about the conversation that happened at the last meeting on the 15th of November regarding funding for the arts, and specifically the Arts Commission. I'm not on the Arts Board. I've never been on the Arts Board, but I've attended a ton of meetings for the Arts Commission over the last 10 years or more. And I know that the folks who are on the Arts Commission are very dedicated and trying to do their best to promote arts in this community. Keep in mind that they're all volunteers. The Arts Commission meets typically about once every 2 months for an hour. So we're talking 6 hours out of the year that are dedicated to this. There were some great suggestions for some programs that maybe the Arts Commission could get behind, but they don't have the resources. I think to expect the Arts Commission to be able to support some big programs is going to take some heavy lifting by the City Council. You have to give them the direction, and you have to give them the support. And I can tell you, over the dozens of meetings that I've attended over the years with all kinds of people who are on the Arts Commission, many of them gone, some of them current, they are very frustrated. That's my perception, is they're very frustrated. They work literally for years on projects, only to get it to the point where they're bringing it to the City Council and occasionally don't get the support. Or they get the support and then 6 months later they lose that support. Sometimes they work for years and just nothing pans out. I don't know if you all are familiar with the sculpture park that was trying to be worked on up by Chamber of Commerce. Literally, they worked for years trying to get that off the ground, and it just all fell apart in the end. They have great ideas. They just need the support. If you on the council have great ideas, which I think you all do, because I heard a lot of them, bring them to the Arts Commission, let them play with it and figure out how to make it work. It's fantastic that we now have a Parks and Recreation Department manager, and maybe that can get tied in with arts. Maybe it can be a Parks, Arts, and Recreation, where we do some of these projects for kids that Councilman Wiesner was talking about back when he was growing up here. But don't give up on the arts. Don't freeze their fund. Don't stop funding it. It's so important. Some of these big statement projects, like the Angel, like Leaves up by the, Chamber, they're very expensive. They take a lot of time to get off the ground. The fact that there's a lot of money sitting in the fund right now doesn't mean that it's not going to be put to good use. One of the things I don't know if you all mentioned at the meeting on the 15th was, some of the other creative arts besides sculptures and paintings and that, some of the performance arts. The Music in the Parks thing that happened last summer, I don't know how many of you had an opportunity to go to it. That was fantastic. How nice would it be if the Arts Commission could sponsor that instead of having commercial sponsors? It's so hard going through the process to get you guys to sign off on stuff that, it puts a damper on these folks. If you've seen the turnover on the Arts Commission over the last few years, some of it's because of frustration. I would love to see you all do an outbriefing for folks who leave the Arts Commission and why are they leaving it, and some of the other commissions as well. I did that with Mayor Severns when I left the Planning Commission, explained why I was leaving, because I was so upset with what was happening in the planning department. And, I think that you all would learn a lot. I don't see a lot of you at the meetings, and that's understandable because you all work and, it meets during the daytime and you got your own jobs, not to mention that doing the job that you're doing here on the city council requires enormous amounts of time that we don't get to see behind the scenes. So I appreciate it, but I just hope that you continue to fund the arts fund the way it's currently established to be funded. Thank you for your time.
Mayor, may I ask the speaker to please identify himself?
Sorry, I've been up here so many times. I'm Hal Hovey. I'm a resident of Oak Harbor. I live at 651 Southeast Bayshore, and I put it on that form, so thank you.
Thank you, Hal. No problem. Thank you very much. Any other public comment? No problem. Councilor Munns, we got your message. Okay, we're still open to public comment, but I think we're done, it looks like, today. So I will close the public hearing at this time and move to City Council for questions or input about the budget. Yes, Councilor Hoffmeyer.
Just one more time, I know I've said it a few times, the amount of work that staff has put into this, getting this to this point is incredibly appreciated, and we're doing some good things within this budget, and also appreciate that we have a couple members of the public in the audience today.
Yes, Mayor Pro Tem Eisen.
Thank you, Mayor. In this budget, we have an allowance for a couple of seasonal laborers for parks, and we had the discussion, probably last time we talked about this, maybe the last 2 or 3 times we've talked about this, but I'm not gonna make any official request to add an actual full-time FTE parks person. We know that additional help is needed, but because Mr. Smith is just getting started and needs to kind of assess the workload and the scope of the programs and stuff, I just would like to just remind council that that is a possibility, and to kind of leave, space open in our minds as we move forward, that, I wouldn't be surprised to see an amendment coming forward, and to just be open to the idea of potentially adding additional parks staff. I think that we've got, in terms of staffing, I think we've got everything else pretty well covered. But I just kind of like to leave some theoretical space open for that possibility. Thanks.
Could do a motion. Councilor. Yes.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to adopt ordinance number 1965, encumbering resources and establishing expenditure authority through the adoption of the City of Oak Harbor 2023-2024 biannual budget and wage and salary schedule and plan of classification.
Second.
So you've heard the motion that reads exactly like the recommendation by Councilor Marshall, second by Councilor Munns. Seeing no other input or questions, all in favor signify by raising your right hand. Okay, that's unanimous here. So it passes. How about Mr. Wiesner? Looks like we got
Yes.
his hand raised. That passes unanimously. So I too would like to thank the staff. I know that there was a lot of time put in. It was done a little bit different this time around than the way it's been done in the past. That always takes some juggling amongst departments and people and staff, and I think that they not only stepped up to do a great job, but they were maybe more involved than I ever remember in the past. So I really appreciate the work and the efforts from staff. Appreciate the public always for your understanding and your questions always. We think we know the direction, but it's got to be your direction. So thank you to the citizens out there, and especially to City Council. A lot of work goes into these meetings and a lot of time. So thanks. And with that, if I'll ask if there's any other business, and seeing none, then we'll just adjourn the meeting. So this workshop is over.